If you want the Bears to nail this coaching hire like they've failed to do the last several times, then hit that like button. Let's get, I don't know, we got 1,500 likes on today's show. We need a lot of support. The Bears need our support if they're going to get this thing right. Hit that like button. A lot of coaching updates to come right now. I'm Harrison Graham. This is Chicago Bears Now. The Bears' first interview is complete as they've completed an interview with ex-Titans head coach Mike Vrabel. We'll get to this note later, but this was actually a virtual interview, so that one is complete. And obviously a big one. He's been kind of the number 2 guy on my list. Some would argue he's the top and most qualified overall candidate in this cycle. A lot of teams are interested. As far as what's next here, not going to spend too much time on Vrabel. He meets with New England tomorrow. A lot of people think that deal could be done rather quickly if things go well in that interview. Now, the Patriots do interview Ben Johnson on Friday. More on Johnson in a little bit as well. So maybe we wouldn't get an announcement tomorrow or Friday on Vrabel to New England, but if he crushes it there tomorrow, and unless Johnson blows them away Friday, it would not be shocking to me if Vrabel was the Patriots head coach by the end of the weekend. But we'll see if we get to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and still no news. Maybe Vrabel's still in the mix here. I think the Bears are probably in third place right now for Vrabel, behind New England and Vegas due to the connections he has to both. All right, speaking of the Bears search, add Kliff to the list. He is number 15, as Josina Anderson reports that the Bears have requested to interview the Commanders' offensive coordinator. Obviously, he's done a really good job this year. You know, they kind of entered a bit of a rut in November for 3-4 weeks. Jayden wasn't playing super well. That offense wasn't executing as well, and you kind of wondered, okay, is it another late season collapse for a Kliff Kingsbury offense? And that didn't really end up being the case. December, they got back on track. They averaged 32 points per game in the 4 games leading up to their Week 18 game against Dallas. I think he's adjusted well this year, not only in games, but in the back half of this season, adding new wrinkles, especially in the run game. They've been really creative in that regard, using their different backs, which I like. And, you know, whoever the Bears bring in here as an OC or a head coach, if it's an offensive guy, I want someone who can run the football in addition to developing in Caleb Williams and getting this pass game going more consistently, because I think a good run game takes the pressure off a young quarterback. We've seen that in Washington. I think that would definitely apply here as well. Now, Josina added this, saying, I'm told at least 4 teams have expressed interest in Kingsbury about their head coach vacancy. Also, some league sources are trying to fully ascertain how much Kingsbury really wants to be a head coach in this cycle with more time to reflect, given his current circumstances in Washington. And if you remember a week or 2 ago when he was asked, do you want to be a head coach again, he said yes at some point. I think he left the door open to this year. He declined to comment if he would interviews with teams this year, but he made it pretty clear he's comfortable in Washington. He likes being an offensive coordinator. He's learned a lot from Dan Quinn. I could absolutely see a scenario where he says, you know what, I'm just going to stay in Washington for another year, because, look, he kind of strikes me as a guy that likes calling plays. I think he'll step into the ring again one day, and maybe it's this year. Maybe he interviews with the Bears and feels like it's a perfect opportunity, and maybe Chicago zeroes in on him. Who knows? But if I were a betting man, I think he hangs out for another year. He'll probably do a couple interviews, but I think he stays in Washington for a second season. How interested are you in Kliff Kingsbury? Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 being incredibly. 6 or 7. He's in that, second tier of guys for me. He's not up there with the Ben Johnsons, the Mike Vrabels of the world, but he's in a tier below that. He's been a head coach before. He's a good play caller. He could help Caleb. So you could certainly do a lot worse than Kliff Kingsbury. All right, number 16, another one. Matt Campbell, folks, the Iowa State head coach, is expected to get interviewed as well, according to Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune. And an interesting and fun fact about Matt Campbell is he actually had the Lions job in 2021 if he wanted it. They offered him the job. He turned them down. He went back to Iowa State. They end up with the other Campbell, Dan Campbell. And I just want to outline a couple things there. Maybe Matt Campbell would have been awesome for them. Who knows? But it just does go to show that sometimes you just have to get a little lucky. Like, I feel pretty confident saying if Matt Campbell is their coach, that it wouldn't be going this well for Detroit. I mean, chances are, even if it was going pretty good, it wouldn't be going as well as it has because Dan Campbell's been a home run. Matt Campbell's a good coach. He's actually better than some of the guys, in my opinion, that they've requested, but I'd be lying if I said, A, he was on my radar, or B, I was that interested in interviewing him. I mean, you're up to 16 guys now. We mentioned, or one note on the list on screen, Dallas did deny the request to interview Mike McCarthy, so for now, they're not able to interview him. His contract's up January 14th. We'll see what happens there in Dallas over the next few days. But a lot of names, right? Kliff, Matt Campbell, David Shaw among the new ones in the last 24 hours or so. Like, I'd take Matt Campbell over David Shaw, but look, some people on social media, there seems to be this debate. There's some people like me who are like, why are you interviewing this many people? Then there's other people who are like, why are you being negative all the time? It's like, I'm not being negative. I just think it's unnecessary. Like, you need to interview 16 candidates. And oh, by the way, Liam Cohen isn't one of them. Now, I would expect he'll get added at some point, but it's just like, to me, you should be able to identify 8 to 10 guys, do extensive research on those candidates, and pick one. Like, what scenario are you going to run into and be like, well, I guess we're going to have to settle for our 14th guy? It doesn't exist. There's only 6 open jobs right now. So, look, one side of the coin, you could say, well, maybe you learned something about a guy and you fall in love with someone that wasn't, initially on your radar. But you could also fall into the danger zone like that. Like, oh, Mike Kafka, we're just doing him a courtesy. He blows us away. Let's make him the head coach. Like, you can't lose sight of, well, I understand that you got to do a thorough process, but you can't just be like, well, the interview is going to dictate the whole who we hire. It's part of the piece of the puzzle. What's on your resume? So I don't really understand the length of it. It's not the end of the world, especially if Ben Johnson, who we'll get to here, ends up being your guy and they have a deep playoff run. You may have to wait a while, so I guess talking to guys isn't the worst thing in the world, but just kind of feels like you're adding unnecessary work and homework for yourself. Okay, Ben Johnson, somewhat surprisingly, he's going to do 4 interviews. He'll meet with the Bears on Saturday. His interview schedule has been laid out per Jordan Schultz. He will meet with the Raiders and the Patriots on Friday. The Patriots one's notable because it's the day after Mike Vrabel interviews. I think if Saturday comes and goes, New England might be waiting that out. They might wait and see, if Ben Johnson's willing to take that job. And if you're in the Ben Johnson camp for Chicago, that makes you a little bit nervous, right? But I guess on the flip side, then maybe Vrabel becomes an option. We'll have to wait and see. He'll meet with the Bears and Jags on Saturday, and all eyes on that one, right? That's a big one. I'm not that concerned about certainly the Raiders. I'd be shocked if Ben Johnson went there. Could something change in Jacksonville where they diminish Trent Baalke's role, and would he be interested in that job? Possibly. But if Baalke has roster control, I just don't see a scenario where Ben Johnson takes that gig. But you never know. The report was if he's willing to interview with the team, he at least could envision himself being the head coach of that team. So you have to take everyone somewhat seriously, but I do think the Patriots are the primary competition here, given a lot of the things we've talked about, cap space, young, talented quarterback. They have pretty good ownership with the Crafts. The Bears don't have very good ownership. So keep an eye on Friday. And if we get to Saturday and the Patriots haven't hired Mike Vrabel yet, it could be a little nervy with Ben Johnson looming right there. All right, some more nuggets to dive into in just a moment. But first, let's talk about our sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a financial app that can help you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, help you set budgets and stay on top of those, and even lower your bills by up to 20%. The way to do that is you upload, a electric bill that you have, your phone bill, whatever, to the Rocket Money app, and they'll look out for the best deals available. You might be able to turn a $100 bill into an $80 bill. Maybe you won't be able to find that big of a discount, but Rocket Money is going to put you in the best position to save as much money as possible. The reality is most of us are spending money on things that we don't use on a daily basis, and you should completely scale back on that spending if you are able to do so. Like most of you, I spent a lot of money during the month of November and December with the holidays. Got to scale back early in the new year, so Rocket Money is going to help you do that. Go to rocketmoney.com/bears now. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. They have saved their customers $500 million in canceled subscriptions alone, and if you use their fullest features, you can Save up to $740 per year. RocketMoney.com/BearsNow. Link is in the comments and in the description. More on Ben Johnson here from the Bears blog. If you remember him, 3 years ago, he was on top of the Bears coaching search. I don't think he's as tapped in this time around, but he did have this note. He says, I know there's been trepidation, Ben Johnson, in the Bears structure, but I'm told solidly that he's not only interested in the Bears, he loves the idea of working with Caleb Williams. Also told that Ryan Poles is enamored with him. We wait and see. And now, if that's true, that's interesting because the rumors were, well, maybe Poles wouldn't be interested because Ben Johnson would potentially not want to work with Ryan Poles. So maybe those rumors were greatly exaggerated. I would expect we'll find out if he ends up being their guy and makes demands. Obviously, that would get out, obviously. But I think it's pretty simple. If Mike Vrabel goes to the Patriots, which is what people expect, certainly not a done deal, but what people expect, I think the Bears are the favorites for Ben Johnson. I'm not really concerned at all about the Raiders. I guess I'm mildly concerned about the Jags, but that's only if they make an adjustment with Trent Baalke's status in that organization. And we've been over it. What he's done for 3 years now, he turned down the Panthers in 2022. He turned down Washington last year to go back, add calluses, and have the number 2 EPA offense over a 3-year period. Think about how many hotshot coordinators get a gig after 1 or 2 years. This guy's been with Dan Campbell for like for several years, dating back to Miami, play caller for the last 3, and they've had the number 2 EPA offense only behind Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I know they're super talented. Jared Goff is not Lamar Jackson. Like, he has gotten so much out of this guy. It's super impressive to watch. So I'm excited. I hope he ends up being the guy. I have not wavered in that. He is my top target. Now, we do have some dates for some of the guys that are set to interview. We mentioned off the top, Mike Vrabel has already completed his first interview. We'll see if a second one happens or not. My gut tells me he's the Patriots head coach in the next 3 or 4 days. Drew Petzing is set to interview tonight, probably happening right now. The Arizona Cardinals OC. Pete Carroll tomorrow, as is Mike Kafka. I would imagine they have some on Friday, January 10th, but none that have been officially reported. Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, the Little Lions, a double dose on Saturday. So keep an eye on that date as well. Okay, is Ben Johnson your top target? Y for yes, N for no. You know where I stand. Typing my Y's for yes. We mentioned this briefly off the top. Just wanted to kind of touch on this. Dianna Russini reporting that the first round of Bears head coaching interviews will all be virtual, even with the multiple candidates they could meet in person. And I've calmed down a little bit, but my initial thought was, this is just classic Bears. Why would you not bring Mike Vrabel into the building? Why would you not bring Pete Carroll into the building? I still feel that way. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's the end of the world, but it's just, you know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like you're being cheap. You don't want to fly them in on a private jet. Oh, we'll just get them on Zoom. They got to meet all our executive vice presidents, and we'll just do it on Zoom. It's like, come on, bro. Like, act like a real organization. I don't think I'm probably making too much of this. I will acknowledge that, but it's just like, why would you not want to bring Mike Vrabel into your building? Pete Carroll, whatever. He's 73 years old. He's a fallback option. You don't have to convince a Pete Carroll. A Mike Vrabel, if you really want him, you're going to have to convince the guy. He's going to have other suitors. So I think it's a mistake. I'm not going to act like it's the end of the world, but I was disappointed when I saw that report. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. We should be going live tomorrow. There's some weather down here where we're at, Chat Sports headquarters in Dallas, Texas, so could be a little dicey, but we'll have some content on the channel tomorrow regardless. By the way, Penn State, Notre Dame, if we do make it to the studio, plan is to go live on 4Verts and Chat Sports for a watch party, so tune us in for that as well. My name is Harrison Graham. Bear down.